your shame, you know you wear it inside. Run away with all your lies, run away in your disguise, you know you don't fool me. You blame me for your boredom, you blame me for your pain.
Well, hello there, and thank you for joining Paul Mash TV. I'm Paul Mash, of course, and we're glad that you could join us for another episode. And you know, it's been quite a ride because we're almost at 150 episodes. It's hard to believe we've come this far, and we want to thank you for that. We hear from you all the time, and if you'd like to do that yourself, there are several ways you can contact us. Just go to facebook.com/PaulMashTV on Facebook. Be sure to like the page and message us there. We'd love to hear from you. And also follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/PaulMashTV official. And be sure to follow me there. And you can also email me, capital P, lowercase MASHTV, all one word, at gmail.com. And as always, if you're on YouTube right now watching this, there's a subscribe button right there. Just click that and keep up with all the latest episodes. And we'll go from there. And we appreciate that. And don't worry about it. We have a closing credit screen at the end of the show. So feel free to jot down any information that you missed. And we'd love to hear from you. Right now, from Ontario, Canada, we have Chris Mabb, a very talented musician. And just like all of them here on Paul Mash TV, and I know you're going to like it. So without further ado, let's watch that interview right after this commercial break from Click Jam. Don't go away.
Whenever it's time to gas up, always keep in mind to dream big and go hard. Log on to clickjam.com and sign up today. And hey, you can always count on us. clickjam.com.
Well, hello everybody, and thank you for joining us on another interview section of our show. And with us from Ontario, Canada, we have Chris Mabb. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here with us. Let's start with the obvious question I ask everybody, because everyone has their own story, and we like to hear your story. But tell me a little bit about what made you decide to become a musician.
Well, I grew up in Mitchell, Ontario, Canada, small farming community. Mm-hmm. There was always music in my house going on. I mean, my mom was raised on old country, and my dad grew up listening to old classic rock and roll. And there was always music going on in the house. I mean, my mom would be out in the kitchen doing the dishes or baking or something like that. She'd have the radio going. My dad would be down in the basement working on something. He'd have the radio going on down there. I always had music. I always had my influences, and just hearing my favorite songs on the radio. And every once in a while you might get lucky and we'd go and we'd see somebody performing live somewhere in a nearby city. And you know, just seeing them perform and singing along with their songs and everything made me realize someday, you know, I wouldn't mind trying that too myself.
Okay, yeah, that's a good story. And I'm glad that you did what you decided to do, and I'm sure you're making people happy with your music. So,
well, I seem.
You know, you just mentioned a minute ago influences. That's another question I'd like to ask. What were some of your influences growing up that inspired you to become a musician?
Growing up, I had, like I said, I had a mixture of influences. I mean, first and foremost, I got to say my all-time favorite performer's got to be Mr. Alan Jackson. I have loved him since he first came out. I bet you I started listening to him when I was 8 or 9 or 10 years old. He's probably one of the ones that made me want to start playing the guitar and singing in the first place. Again, guys like Buddy Holly and Richie Valens, and going way back, Hank Williams Sr., Waylon Jennings, Myrtle Haggard, just all the old classics seem to be what caught my eye years ago.
Yeah, and those are some good artists too. As a matter of fact, I interviewed Merle Haggard's son, Scott Haggard. I interviewed him one time. He's a pretty good guy, and he looks a lot like his dad. So
Oh yeah, I think I've seen a couple interviews with him too, actually.
Yeah, you'll have to check that out. And of course, anybody out there watching, of course, if you forgot about it, it's on my YouTube channel. You can check that out. Just look for Paul Mash TV Scott Hager, and it's right
Sure.
there. So tell me a little bit about, as far as your music goes, I mean, have you had any albums, or are you thinking about doing an album one day soon, or if you're just doing singles? I mean, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we just recently released an album back last October of 2018, and that album was called Voodoo Dawn. And that was released on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and YouTube. And it's if people punch in Chris Mabb on YouTube, I'm sure they'll see a few videos pop up there on it. It's on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Just type in @Chris Mabb Music. And so far, it's been fairly well received. Been experiencing some small success so far, just kind of locally. And I do a Facebook Live session, and I'm not sure if anybody understands exactly what that is if they're not on Facebook, but there's an option on Facebook where you can get to go live, and there's a couple of country music network pages, like channels that I do live shows every night if I can. And basically just networking myself and putting myself out there, promoting myself. And I've met lots of people through doing this, and my fan base has been growing by doing this. And, you know, they all love the sound of me. They love my songs, and I love every one of them so much for tuning in every night. I mean, you don't get anywhere in this business without your fan base. So, I mean, there's so many great people out there, and I appreciate every one of them.
Okay. Well, and speaking of that, you mentioned Voodoo Dawn. We're getting ready to play that song in just a minute, obviously. Is there a story behind that song? Why you decided to write that song, or?
Nothing major, really. It's just, you're sitting around here one night. I was jamming. I think my youngest stepdaughter was with me in the room, if I remember correctly, and I was just playing along with different chords, just jamming. I didn't really have any direction I was going with, and the chord structure that I had created for myself, it kind of sounded bluesy, and I'd never really done any blues before. I'd never really written any songs in a blues feel before, and just imagining, it kind of had the feel of, hopping in your car or your truck and touring down the highway, going on a tour somewhere, maybe not quite sure where you're headed, or maybe you know where you're headed. You're listening to the radio, you got the windows down. I mean, it could go anywhere. You just shut your eyes and use your imagination, and I mean, everybody's been there. And it just went from there. Basically, there's no real storyline behind it. I mean, myself, I've always wanted to go down to New Orleans. I've had many friends go there, and I've heard it's a beautiful city and a lot of culture and a lot of history, and I think it'd be pretty sweet to go there someday. So I just kind of kept that as the backdrop for the song, and it seems to have worked.
Okay. Well, those out there that are watching us right now, they can watch that in just a minute, but I just want to let you know, I think that's all we need for right now, Chris, and we appreciate you again stopping by on the show. Maybe one day, maybe if you have something new to plug, maybe you can come back on the show sometime.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for having me, and thank everybody else out there for listening.
Okay. And here's Voodoo Dawn right here on Paul Mash TV. Don't go away.
Playing with the radio, trying to find a song. Filled my tank in Jackson, filled my coffee cup. Gonna keep going till that sun comes up. Got no money, ain't got no plan, don't even know what I'm looking for. The man in the moon keeps winking at me, baby, he knows what's in store. my guitar out and played a song. Had a crowd gathered in the Voodoo Dome. Found me a nice little Cajun beat. Have you ever heard anything so sweet? Had a crowd gathered in the street in that Voodoo Dome. Hey! In that Voodoo Dome. In that Voodoo Dome. In that Voodoo Dome. All right. Ever heard anything so sweet? Had a crowd gathered in the street in that Voodoo Dome.